Hi everyone, this is Cecil from Yellowstone Motel in West Yellowstone, Montana. In today's Yellowstone podcast, I'm going to be talking about the section of road from West Thumb Geyser Basin down to Yellowstone South Entrance. Now, those of you who've seen many of my virtual Yellowstone tours or Yellowstone podcasts will recognize this map as being a map of the gigantic figure of 8 that runs through Yellowstone. And we're going to be on Yellowstone's lower loop today, down at West Thumb Geyser Basin. You can see this map at our motel site, YS Motel. That's ysmotel.com. The map can be seen at ysmotel.com/map. Let's go down to the southern end of the gigantic figure of 8, the southern end of Yellowstone's lower loop to West Thumb Geyser Basin, and we can see the road that runs from West Thumb all the way down to Yellowstone's South Entrance. I deal with West Thumb in a lot of detail in various of my other Yellowstone podcasts and virtual Yellowstone tours. Suffice to say that many of you will know that it is my favorite geyser basin in all of Yellowstone National Park. Traveling south from West Thumb, we'll come to Grand Village on our right or the east side. I generally like to stop at Grand Village. The reason why is that we operate tours from West Yellowstone, and on one of the days of our tours, we make our way down south. We leave West Yellowstone really early, get to West Thumb Geyser Basin sometime around sunset, sometime around sunrise, and then after we've watched the sunrise over West Thumb Geyser Basin, we like to pop in to Grand Village to grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and something to eat. Let's have a look at satellite view on Google Maps. You can see where West Thumb is over here, and just to the south of it is Grand Village. Let me show you a couple of things about Grand Village. Apart from the fact that you can get stuff to eat, food to take away, I'd like to draw your attention to the Grand Village Lighthouse. This is one of my favorite places to come and eat in all of Yellowstone National Park. It's right on the shores of Yellowstone Lake. This here is West Thumb itself. If we zoom out a little bit more, you can sort of see the thumb that comes off Yellowstone Lake, which is to the right or to the east, and there's some great views there if you do have an opportunity to visit that and enjoy something to eat while taking in the great views along the way. Remember that on this series of podcasts, what I'm showing you are the must-see sites, the sites that I feel you really do have to see on this stretch of road. So please don't ignore something that you may be passing because there's just so much beautiful scenery on the way. I'm just going to be describing what I regard as the more special sites. Traveling south, we're going to come to Lewis Lake. Now, Lewis Lake is formed by Lewis River, which flows out of Shoshone Lake. And if you're lucky enough to be here in the spring, and when I say spring, you have to be careful when you come, because if we have a look at the roads that run through Yellowstone National Park, they don't open all at once. When the roads open for the spring and then the summer season, this road from West Yellowstone into Madison and then on to Norris and up to Mammoth is the first road that will open. The road from West Thumb down to the south only opens as one of the last roads to open, and the reason is that Crate Pass, which we can see here between West Thumb and Old Faithful, that's really high, and because of the amount of snow, it doesn't open until the snow is melted. So this stretch of road then will also only open later as well. And the reason that I mention this is, take a look at Lewis Lake here. It's right next to the road that runs from West Thumb to the South Entrance, and it is so cool in the spring months just after this road is open because it is still full of ice and snow. Now be careful about actually trying to walk on the ice. I definitely wouldn't recommend that because you don't know how thick it is, but it does make for some great pictures. Incidentally, notice the sign over here, the motorized boats. Lewis Lake is one of only 2 lakes in all of Yellowstone where you're allowed to take a motorized boat, the other one being Yellowstone Lake itself. We'll continue a little bit to the south. Now look at this purple line that more or less follows Yellowstone's lower loop. I'm not going to talk about this in any detail here. Suffice to say that this is the caldera line. It shows us where the caldera is or was, and that is the gigantic hole in the ground that was left the last time the Yellowstone supervolcano erupted in between about 610,000 and 630,000 years ago, depending on which source you want to believe. We'll then come to Lewis Falls. Now, Lewis Falls is right next to the road. You can't miss it. As you're driving along, you'll see Lewis Falls off to your right, coming down, or off on the west side. This is a very popular waterfall to visit, and you'll see why in a minute. It's right next to the road. You can see the waterfall from the road. You just look straight up the river, and there's the waterfall over there, and you'll find that these little pullouts on either side of the road are generally pretty full with all the cars that of people stopping who want to see Lewis Falls. But what people often don't know is that there's actually a trail that runs up towards Lewis Falls. And here I am on that trail. When you're facing the falls, it's just to the left, and you can make your way up and get a great view of an overlook of the falls. It's not very long. It does take you away from the crowds somewhat, and it does provide some really great views. Now, if you're wondering where this video comes from, it's from our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is called Yellowstone Tours. So if you search for Yellowstone Tours, click on videos, and you'll find that we have more Yellowstone videos on YouTube than anybody. We have Yellowstone, what we call virtual Yellowstone tours and Yellowstone podcasts. We'll deal with the best places in Yellowstone to find wolves and bears. We deal with every single road in Yellowstone, point to point. We deal with all the major geyser basins, geysers erupting, the various hikes. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of videos for you to take a look at. Let's get back to the map. Leaving Lewis Falls, we'll notice that Lewis River follows the road, or more accurately, the road follows Lewis River, continuing south, and you'll come across Lewis Canyon on the east side or the left side as you're driving down. And we're going to continue on this road, and I have marked one point here that I'd like you to have a look at. This pullout over here is pretty easily distinguishable. I'm going to show it to you in this map. Here we are coming down the same way we were traveling before. West Thumb Geyser Basin is behind us, and the south entrance is ahead of us. So here we go again. West Thumb is behind us, the south entrance is ahead of us. And we come to that pullout that I mentioned. You'll find it's the only pullout that has one of these notice boards that the Park Service does so well. And what this notice board is telling us is something about the Great Fire of 1988. And I'm not going to go into this in any detail here. Well, maybe a little bit of detail. What the board actually tells you is that the Park Service were wondering whether this natural break here, this canyon in the river, would prevent the fire from jumping the river from the east side to the west side. Well, it did, but that is another story. Now, here is another one of our virtual Yellowstone tours, and I'm showing you this actual stretch of road. So if you do want to see it in video format, if you do want to see the whole road, this section here shows you this little area that I had mentioned to you, where you can stop and take a look at the point where the fire jumped across the Yellowstone River and jumped across Lewis River and jumped across Lewis Canyon. It really is a wonderful sight to see. Now, this I do not recommend. I know that I am doing it. You really do need to be very careful if you do get off the beaten trail. The rocks can be very slippery. It's so easy to go over the side, so please don't try that. Anyway, let's get back to our map. I'm going to zoom out again, and we'll just continue on the road, heading south once again, following the Lewis River, heading south. And the next point I'd like to show you is where the road sort of juts out to the left or to the west, and the river does the same thing. Let's zoom in and see what we can see there. It's Moose Falls. Now, Moose Falls is one of two main waterfalls that you can get to on this section of road. Moose Falls, however, is about 5 minutes, or perhaps not even 5 minutes, off the road. If we take a look, we can see here's the fall over there. People don't really know that Moose Falls is there because you can't see it from the road. You have to park in this little pullout over here and then make your way down. And it's well worth doing that. Here's another one of these virtual Yellowstone tours. Here I am walking down towards Moose Falls. That's Moose Falls over there. This is the higher viewpoint. Down to my left is the lower viewpoint, and it's pretty easy to get down there as well. So Moose Falls is well worth stopping and taking a look at as well. I'm back on our map at ysmotel.com/map, and here we are now at Moose Falls. We're continuing south towards the south entrance, and I'd like to show you one other thing. Do you see this picnic spot over here? This is the Snake River picnic spot. And if we continue south along this road, we're going to come into it in a moment. By the way, you can see the Lewis River there. Just a little to the south of us is the point where the Lewis River flows into the Snake River. And not too far from there is the Snake River picnic area. This is one of my favorite picnic areas in all of Yellowstone. I always say to have a great picnic area, let's start with basics. You've got to have a toilet. There's one of those vault toilets. You've got to have water. Here's the Snake River. You've got to have gorgeous scenery. Well, guess what? This valley over here is really stunning. And then you've got the forest and the trees in the background. So check out that picnic area if you do have an opportunity to do so. This is Yellowstone South Entrance. And from here, you would head down over something called the Rockefeller Parkway, and then you'd make your way into Grand Teton National Park. Remember, guys, we do offer more Yellowstone tours, real Yellowstone tours, than anyone else in the world, and you can see them at yellowstonetours.net. We offer Yellowstone tours from all major western cities, a couple of eastern cities as well as all the regional cities like West Yellowstone, Jackson, Bozeman, and several more. In addition, remember, if you're looking for a motel in the Yellowstone area, we do operate Yellowstone Motel, which you can see at ysmotel.com. It's located in the small town of West Yellowstone, which is at Yellowstone's main entrance. And we've got this really easy online ordering system. All of our rooms do have kitchens in them, so please check that out. Thank you so much for joining me on another Yellowstone podcast, and I hope you make it to Yellowstone someday.